Hey there, this is Yasmin.
And this is Sukaina.
We are two friends who are passionate about having authentic and God centered conversations.
We are delighted to have you with us on this exciting journey.
Welcome to Heartful Insights.
Hello. Hi.
Hello, hello.
How are you
How are
doing?
we today?
It's Saturday night. It's very hot.
Yay.
How is it
hmm
in Rabat?
It's really nice actually.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice breeze. During the day it's quite hot, but I can't complain. It's the season. We've been waiting
Yeah.
for this weather. So yeah.
That's nice. Same,
Yeah.
honestly, here. So, yeah, it feels good. And it's also good to do the podcast at night. I think we're gonna be inspired in another way. It's not like when we're doing it in the morning. So yeah, let's try this.
Yeah, exactly. That's what flexibility is about. That's what we talked about on the first episode anyway, so
Yes. So do you want to start? I know that the subject we have today, we introduced it in the second episode, in the last one. And I know that this is definitely your like you experienced this part more than I did because I kind of struggle with control and I need to have control over things. So you're more into that. So I'll definitely let you take the lead on this one, and I think it's going to be very interesting.
well, thank you for this great introduction. Um, okay, so last episode, I remember we talked a lot about the law of assumption and the importance of actually identifying with your ideal. But I guess one important step before getting there, before getting to the law of assumption, um, is having clarity. And we said that last time very briefly.
Mhm.
Um, Having clarity doesn't necessarily mean that you need to have like a clear image, like 100% each and every detail, but you have to actually be able to identify with the emotion. So emotions are the most important part in this process.
Mhm.
And before actually getting there, getting to this state where you can um, feel the emotions of your ideal, you have to have a clear vision. And this is what leads us to making the difference between visualizing, which is a very popular term used nowadays, and envisioning. So, visualizing, like myself included, when I was first introduced to the idea, it was like, wow, it was freeing. It was pretty attractive as a concept. But when I started applying it, it's like I began to feel more anxiety than peace. And what I got to deduct or conclude from that experience is that I was trying too hard to put an image together. It's
Mhm.
like I was really putting the pieces together, and a lot of doubt came creeping in, oh, but, for this to happen, this needs to happen. And our ego gets in the way, basically. And then I got introduced to this idea of envisioning by this amazing author whose name is Florence Kovelchin. Um, and basically, in summary, envisioning is closing your eyes and getting into that meditative state and asking God to send you the image of your ideal, like of your divine plan, as she likes to call it. So instead of me sitting down and thinking, okay, this is what I want, this is what my ideal life's gonna look like, or my ideal spouse, or whatever, instead you actually involve God from the get-go, because last time we talked a lot about aligning our will with the divine will, because this is the only way for us to be fulfilled, even if the process might not be to our liking 100%. And so when we indulge in this connection with the Lord from the get-go, like, God, I don't even want what is not right for me. We get into that state and ask, okay, God, show me what does my ideal life look like. And I'm going to give a concrete example, because this seems like too theoretical, and I also don't like theoretical explanations. So
Yeah.
this is actually something that I have experienced firsthand. I remember when I was in a really tough spot career-wise. It was a really bad experience at the time. I wasn't happy, and I just needed to move on. And the timing was perfect, because that was when I got introduced to this concept of envisioning. And I started actually applying it, like, every night, every day. Like, as I go about my day, I would just, like, ask God, like, show me what my ideal job is gonna look like and feel like. Like, how is it gonna be? And I was stunned by the amount of times the same image came creeping into my head. Like, it was so clear. The place that I used to intern in, like, back in 2015, where I did my it was some kind of embassy, basically. And that embassy had certain let's say criteria, basically. Yeah, exactly. Like, certain items to it, mainly the guards, the guards at the front gate were super friendly. They would smile at me every day. I was wearing my badge, and I had to, like, cross this steel shield that all embassies have, basically the security clearance. And it was extremely clear. Like, this is the image that I kept getting. I didn't get an image of what I was going to be doing, like the kind of work, or it was like me walking through this gate, similar to that embassy. Everybody's smiling at me. We're having a laugh. And the most redundant thing was the cleanliness, and I couldn't understand why, because it is not like a criteria that I would have put on paper, but, like, it was too clean. These were the three main the three main things that kept popping into my head. And then I would get creative, okay, so I would have some really nice colleagues. It's gonna feel healthy, because the last thing I would want is to be in a toxic environment. Those are, like, given. Like, the divine plan is for me to be at ease and to feel peaceful, and to at least be surrounded with people I like and that I enjoy working with.
Yeah.
And so what I did is that I took all those feelings and all those images, once I was sure 100% that this was not a product of my own imagination, because it felt intense. The images were clear, the feelings were there. So I put that on a piece of paper, because it is a very powerful tool. And I started reading that, like, that text, basically that short description. And I had there an ideal. I remember I put there that I would love to have, like, a month before starting the new job. Like, I genuinely needed to rest. That was, like, a bonus. And, a city that I would like, a city that would align with the person that I am, and stuff like that. So I started reading that paper almost after every prayer. So we pray 5 times a day. Sometimes when I combine prayers, although that's not a nice thing, but you know, I would do it because that's the moment where I was feeling the most spiritual and the most connected, and envisioning was easier. So I do remember, like, after finishing up that prayer and reading that text, I would feel like it is literally done. Like there was no resistance. Some resistance, of course, like in terms of the salary. Is it gonna be nice? Am I gonna like the job? Where am I gonna find it? And stuff like that. That's very normal. It's never like 100% perfect. So I don't know if the idea is clear. I don't know if you want to add something at this point before I talk about what happened next.
Yeah. No, actually, it's very interesting to hear this, and it's also very interesting that we have your perspective that is very spiritual, and there is mine that is struggling with that. Because I think, as much as I'm very spiritual, I think it's important as well because I think many people listening to us would feel maybe the same as I used to feel. And one of the things that used to make me struggle, and you talked about it, which is very interesting, is the fact that when you start visualizing, you start to feel anxious somehow. And I think I read back then something that was very interesting. It was the fact that when we start visualizing, we usually get into details and our ego takes over and we want to control, which is something I struggle with somehow. And I
Yeah.
remember that I read something
Yeah.
very interesting because what I would add in this part is that sometimes we're not all ready to receive the vision directly just by praying for it. Because I think that in order for us to receive this divine vision, we really need to be in a state of real surrender. And I don't think that we're all in all the stages of our lives, we are fortunate to be in that place. But what was really useful if you're struggling with that, if someone is listening and struggling with that, what was useful for me is to actually focus on how you would want to feel. Talking about a job, since it's the example you talked about, I remember that one of the things that helped me personally is to close my eyes, and every time I do this part where I visualize what I want, I would close my eyes and just try to feel that feeling, um, like I have a great job. I don't know what it is. I don't know what field this is. And I don't know in which country, in which, you know what I mean? Like I have zero idea. I'm still looking for my purpose or whatever. And I just close my eyes and I know that the main things I know is that I want to feel good and I want to feel like I'm fulfilled. And I tell myself, okay, now I have the job of my dreams. I don't have the details. What is it that I would feel? And I think it's a good way for you to surrender indirectly because it makes you actually have those visions, sometimes not very specific in the beginning because it's a journey. But at the same time, as soon as I feel that I am trying to control how is it gonna come, when is it gonna come, I stop myself and I'm like, this is not my job. This is divine. Now I am just visualizing the outcome that I want. And you said something very important. It is the fact that when we're talking about visualizing or envisioning, it's mostly about emotions. So I think that we should focus on how we would feel having this rather than how we will have it and when we will have it. And I think when we really focus on that and we really like it helps us to surrender. And every time I caught myself trying to control, this is where I get anxious, and this is where it's not divine at all. It's definitely your ego trying to interfere and some traumas of wanting to control because this fear of missing out or fear of things not working out the way you want. And what is it that you want? Like if you really want something, because at some stages we're really lost. So yeah, I'm really interested to know more. Just go ahead. I just wanted to to talk about my side, my perspective in this topic.
No, but that's perfect. I mean, you really explained it very clearly, because the idea here is to not get into the details, which I know might be contradictory to what is mostly sold out there. You know, they tell us you need to visualize in the minutest details in order to be able to see it come to fruition. I do not think that it is healthy to dive in deeper, because it's natural for our consciousness to get involved at a certain point. And the reason why I'm sharing this story, and I actually have several, but I chose this just because, it had several elements to it.
Mm.
There weren't many details. As I told you, I had like clear, recurring, very brief moments. Very brief. It's
Yeah.
like when you have those powerful dreams, premonitory dreams, they're usually very short and intense. That is the, like, uh, how do I say? That's how they feel usually.
Yeah.
It's not like a lot happening. But then, the other things that might feel like our ideals, then it becomes easier to let them go, because you have the basis, you have the core of the vision, and then you let yourself go. Okay, it would be nice to go on trips, for example, to meet these kind of people. And then as soon as it feels anxious, you get to stop. You get to stop. You get to say,
Exactly.
okay, this might not be
Mm.
aligned with me, but what matters is that I have the essence of what I want to be feeling, of where I want to be. Like, I want to be greeted nicely at the gate. And it's not even something I would have thought on my
Mm.
own,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
So then fast forward a few months later, I'm talking about a period of 6 months, 5 months of the same image popping over and over and over again. I get this job in this, let's call it, organization that is actually affiliated with that embassy. It's like a sub organization that gets grants, that gets funding from that embassy.
Wow.
So we also have badges, and the guards are simply the best guards I've ever met. They're the kindest. I'm always greeted with the most genuine smiles ever. They're so nice, and they're, quirky in their own way. And the weird part about the cleanliness is that, I've worked in so many places, but here it's like the cleaning lady, which is the sweetest. So, like, each department basically has their own cleaning lady. She's the sweetest, but she cleans in between tiny breaks,
Mm.
like the office is always spotless. Unless we tell her,
Mm.
look, no, it's clean today. Thank you so much. Thank you. Like those things that seemed like details were actually the basis for me to recognize God's gift, that it's not just a coincidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then, of course, I asked for a month period before starting, and I was granted that. And most importantly, like, I'm still working in that place. It's been 3 years now, and I've never worked somewhere more than a year. I had trouble staying in the same place for a year. I'm not going to
Mhm.
say it's been perfect at all, but I can confidently say that I'm working with one of the best teams ever. Like, it is a
Yeah.
healthy environment. It is truly what I needed, and probably what I still need at the moment,
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
because at least I spend a lot of time doing fun things with people who are respectful, who are kind. Nobody's perfect. Then again, I'm reiterating, but it is truly my dream, like from that time, like I,
Yeah.
and even the salary, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, so basically, um, having this, like being able to hold on
Mm-hmm.
to that inspired image, to that inspired vision, is gonna lead you to so many other spiritual experiences. If you're someone who um, dreams a lot, you might have several premonitory dreams that
Mm.
uh, might actually
Yeah.
increase the intensity of that vision. If you're into science, I mean, I do believe that God speaks to us in our own language. If
Yeah.
you're into signs, you might see signs in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Like ads are gonna pop up, people are gonna talk to you about certain stuff. So yeah, basically that is the idea. I hope the description was a bit clear.
Yeah, and knowing the story, I think there is a part that was very interesting when you talked when we talked about it together. It's the fact that the job you are occupying now is a job that you've never done before, and you were selected for something in which you don't have a lot of experience and that you enjoy doing so much
No
right now.
experience.
Yeah, and for a big salary, I mean, like the whole package was really divine, and it's
Yeah.
crazy. And I think it amplifies the fact that you don't have to get into details, because if you were to get
Yeah.
into details, you would go with the logic, and the logic would say that you need to have this job, or at least if you wanted. First of all, you didn't know what you wanted to do. So let's say you knew. You would be logically speaking, yeah, but I need to, for example, go get graduated or go have a course in this or have a transition or start by being an assistant. But I think because it was really divine and it was like a shortcut, you found yourself beyond logic, but in the divine path. And it doesn't mean that you should not make efforts because you're someone who's really hardworking. I know that, and you're really into detail. I'm just talking about the fact that when you have divine visions, it doesn't always make sense. And that's why it's very important not to get into details when you're visualizing whatever you're visualizing. And I had an
Absolutely.
experience with that. It was a bit different, but I still remember we were together. We were sitting in front of the beach, if you remember, and I was like trying to see what's my purpose. You know, in your 20s, what is my purpose? I don't know what is my purpose. And you told me, what is something that you visualize yourself doing, being very happy, forget about the salary, forget about everything. And I remember I told you coaching. Or you remember that?
Yes, oh my gosh, yes.
And the weird part, because I get back to my case, I wasn't the kind of person who had clarity. I was the kind of person who was very intuitive. I still am, alhamdulillah. But I go with the flow, and I always choose the peace of mind over everything else, because having clarity for me meant being anxious. So when I did that exercise with you, I realized that you can have clarity without being anxious, because I visualized this, and it felt I didn't make any effort, because back then I had a lot of experience in management, in top
Mm.
management, whatever you want, HR, whatever, but never about coaching. And I've never thought about coaching back then, if you remember. But that was a
Yeah.
clear image I had in my mind when you asked me this question, and it
Yeah.
was very weird. And a month
Yeah.
later, it was really weird. A month later, or 2 months later, I think, I was looking for a job. And at that time, I really didn't care about which job I should be looking for. I was going through grief, the grief of my grandpa, and I needed to get out of the house. Like, it was COVID, and I was working at home, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I need to get out of the house. And I found a job that was nothing like I envisioned or I wanted, but I was like, okay, I just need to get out of the house. And I was supposed to start a Friday. I remember it very well. So we
Mm.
actually, I talked to the director, everything was set, I was gonna start, and then it was Wednesday. I found an offer about coaching, I was laughing literally. I was like, okay, I'll send my CV. I don't know, like literally. And an hour later, I had an email. I was like, can you come today, please, for the interview? I was like, what? No, I'm not in Marrakesh. And they were like, okay, tomorrow. So the day after, literally, I came and as soon as I arrived to Marrakesh, I went to have this interview. I was accepted right away, and I sent an email that night to the person I was supposed to start with Friday. So the day after, I'm really sorry, but the offer was way more interesting. And it wasn't just about the salary, but it was about what I was supposed to do. You know, it was a package. And
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
wow, when something is meant for you, it is definitely meant for you, especially after that question you asked me. You know what I mean? Because in my mind again,
Mm,
logically, I cannot be in coaching. Like, how can I do coaching
mm,
knowing that I don't
mm.
have it? I'm not like I don't have experience. I have nothing, you know? And when I actually
Yeah,
started that job, because I want to know what happened next. I think it's very interesting for you. But for me, it was like when I started doing that job, I did it with so much love. And I realized that really so many people were telling me, wow, you're really good at this. And I felt like my heart was full because I used to do
yeah,
it out of love, like literally, and it was for me as also an escape because I was really working a lot because of what was going on back then. And at the same time, I was like, wow,
yeah,
like I used to have a feedback that was very specific, you know, like I worked before and I used to have a good feedback over my work, but this was special. And I was like, wow, like
yeah.
this is divine. So I want to know, how was your experience when you started that new job doing something new? You don't have experience in whatever you started doing, and how did it go, like to follow on the story?
Yeah, so that was actually interesting. And thank you, by the way, for sharing this incredible story because I do remember the details of it. And
Yeah.
every time I think about it, it makes me so happy, like genuinely. And it
Yeah.
also gives me hope. Like, and it's like when you read inspiring stories and success stories, because sometimes we forget
Yeah.
our own.
Yeah, I'm
But when
sorry.
we see other people,
Yeah, I'm gonna stop
uh-huh.
you again. Sorry, but I just have to say, and you know it, you are literally one of the people who pushed me to have clarity. Like, thanks to you, I now have a lot of clarity about
Oh,
what I want because you helped me with the transition. Like, I saw it through you, but to actually get to the action, you were of a great help because you were actually trying to help without imposing and without controlling. So you actually every time you talk to me about clarity and then okay, we'll see until we did the experience together, you know? So thank you for that.
yeah. Aw, thank you for saying it. Appreciate it. Okay, so
Thank you.
before actually talking about my actual experience and how I felt when I started the job that I didn't have any active experience in, I actually want to mention a really big dream I had prior to even getting the job.
Mm,
So, 5 months earlier, in brief, like I'm gonna leave out the details, but in brief, it's like a lady who was supposed to be my supervisor. So keep in mind, it is a lady. So basically, it's the company director of a place I used to work in back in the day.
mm-hmm,
And it's like she was so genuinely happy to have me back. It's like I went back to work there. And my colleagues were very happy. Everybody was welcoming. And I felt full, as you say it so nicely. And then she hands me a contract with a specific salary. But the funny part, this is how great God is.
mm.
Um, the contract had a salary with the foreign currency. So like the
Oh,
Chinese
wow.
currency, the RMB. And I looked at it and I immediately felt the imposter syndrome. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be paid that much? That's crazy, you know? And when I read the position, like in the dream, I knew for sure I had no experience in it. I just, like, when I woke up, the idea in my head was the job has an H somewhere in it, you know, like, and it's something I've never done because the way the dream ended, I had some anxiety. I actually experienced anxiety in the dream, looking in the contract, saying, oh my gosh, I'm going to be paid this much. And they're expecting so much from me and in something I've never done before. And they trust me. I'm probably not going to be like, I'm, that's probably not for me. And then I thought out loud, I can't remember, maybe like a voice or my voice or whatever. And then I made a decision, like clear decision in the dream. I was like, look, I'm being offered this special opportunity and I'm not gonna let it slip. I'm gonna work so hard. I'm gonna work like I've never worked before to actually show them that I do deserve that position. So, like, when I woke up from the dream, I woke up with mixed feelings, literally like mixed feelings, because I was like, wow, the way it started, you know, like I was fulfilled, surrounded by, like, actually the colleagues in my dream, some of them I had a very shallow relationship with, but in the dream, it felt deeper and more authentic.
Yeah.
And then the salary, it was like mind blowing. When I woke up and I did the conversion to our own country, I was like, no, that's not possible. I mean, nobody pays that much for this, like, for whatever position, because like I don't have much experience. I'm basically just starting off my career.
Yeah.
Fast forward 5 months in, I remember I'd applied for this job and apparently forgot about it completely because like at the time I was applying to jobs that I don't have experience in. Communications and marketing, right? That is the field. And I used to work in quality management. I have a bachelor's in politics. I worked in project management. Although I had an internship that was named marketing, it was not marketing, it was sales. I was basically
Yeah.
trying to sell services during that internship. So anyway, I get called, first interview. I really connect with the person supposed to be my supervisor is a lady, technically. And of course, we don't discuss the salary because if I went through the first interview, I had to go through a second one with the director, like the organization's director. And so I remember I was telling her, like, this is my background, you know, quality management, and then I worked in sales and stuff. And then she was like, so tell me a little bit about your experience in marketing specifically, although my CV had no mention of marketing in it. And I bugged and I was like, seriously, I don't like content management, whatever. Like, I don't have any concrete experience, but it's something that I can learn, you know, along the way. And I remember having this friend and I, like, we tried to launch a project together. We had a Facebook page and created content for fun and stuff like that. So any other person, like hiring manager, would not have hired me because like they were specifically looking for someone with a certain a set of years experience in that specific field. Like it was a very specific position that not only it's like two branches. You have marketing and then you have design. You have to be able to create visuals, which is the thing that I completely fell in love with when they gave me the tests, you know? So no experience in design. It's just me discovering along the way that I absolutely love doing it. When they asked me to do it, they gave me like 2 projects to work on. It was the first time for me to use Canva. I never knew Canva existed at the time. So it's like, wow, um uh, when you said you felt that your heart was full, that is exactly what I felt when I remember I had sleepless nights because I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah.
Like I created a video and then a bunch of colorful brochures and stuff like that. So anyway, that was the first part. So the interviews went well. Although no experience, I have no idea why I got called back in. Like they offered me the position, but the the crazy part is when I was handed the contract, because at this stage, 2 interviews and no talk about the salary at all. And then the HR sends me the contract. I see the amount. Of course, can't believe my eyes, but I didn't link it to the dream. I go and I make the conversion. It's slightly higher, like the Moroccan
Mm-hmm.
currency is slightly higher. And I'm like, sorry, it's slightly lower. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, and it's just like a few thousand less. That's not much. Is it really, is it really that dream? Does it mean something? Does it
Mm-hmm.
not?
Mm-hmm.
Then on my first day, the payroll guy comes to me and he was like, hey, can you just confirm if you want this expense to be included in your benefits? It's basically the retirement fund. And I
Mm-hmm.
always knew that I didn't want that because I know that I'm not going to be working until that age,
Yeah,
for me to benefit from retirement. I knew I'm just supposed to work for some experience and, to build myself.
inshallah.
And I say, no, no, thank you. I would love for that amount to be added to my salary. And at that point, I had no idea what that amount was. But then, to my surprise, when I redid the conversion, it was the exact amount, only like a few dirhams
Oof,
difference, like conversion
oof,
rate.
oof, oof.
And my mind like literally was like, and this is when I truly realized how merciful God is. And even this sense of humor, I don't know if it's appropriate to even say that, but like he's so merciful and he wants to really show us why we need to rely on him rather than other people's opinions or our logic, basically, and rational explanations. Like, he gave me this dream, and this is just one of the many dreams. Like, I even had one specifying the date I would get a call back, like, the final
Oh.
decision, and it was the exact, like, it was a Tuesday as it was revealed to me in the dream.
Mm.
So, like, God speaks to us in so many ways. We just have to listen. This is why intuition is so important, and being able to listen to our gut and intuition. And maybe this would lead the way for a future, like, or next episode or something. So
Yeah.
yeah,
No, but
that.
that's a very important point because we're sharing the story in order to emphasize on the fact that it's when it's divine and when you're asking for the vision without controlling it and without putting expectations, you're actually it's divine. So it's not supposed to make sense to a human like us, you know? We are physical beings, and in the end of the day, we struggle when it's beyond what we can perceive. And I think that's why we started by talking about trust, about getting back to the trust that God has in us. Because when you trust and when the basics are good And when you do the work of trying to know God through the Quran or the Quran, and you do your researches and you try to know him through getting to know yourself and through his books and everything, there is this base. And from there, when you start envisioning, and you can use the tips that we try to share in our experience to focus on the emotion, it's gonna flow. And it might not be as intense as we are describing, because we have so many different stories. We shared one that is professional. There are stories about the ideal partner. There are stories about even some stupid things, like not even big things such as career or love. And I think that you
Yeah.
and I, Yasmin, we have a special story with premonitory dreams, and I think we should have an episode just about
Yes.
this when we finish. But
Yeah.
when you talked about the fact that God speaks our language, we actually are really connected in dreams, and the dreams are really powerful. But again, if you don't trust and if you don't know and have clarity over the fact that it's the emotion that matters, when things try to be controlled by you or your ego, know that this is normal, but try to get back on track. And again, I talk a lot about Ahmed Emara, but he's one of the people who inspired me in my journey, a spiritual journey. But he said something that touched me back then, and it was in Arabic. He said, "ما ترسمش الطريق لربنا." Don't try
Yes.
to control the way, because God knows better. God is gonna do it in the perfect way. And
Mm.
if you don't trust in that, if you don't know that God is always doing what's best for you, you will struggle with that. So just do the experience. I know that with God, we don't try, but I know that at first, when we do things, there is this voice in the back of our head that's saying, okay, let's do it. Let's see what it's gonna give.
Mm.
Just please do it and try to take note of what we said or make researches. I know that many people talk about this, and just do it in a simple way. Focus on what
Mm.
you really want in general, and focus on the emotion that you want to feel in the end of the day. Because what is the difference between you today and you who has that thing that you're wishing for? It's how you feel. You are the same person.
Mm.
You have the same name, you have the same family, etc. The only thing that is different is the emotion. So when you
Mm.
embody this emotion, you actually try. I think it's really miraculous somehow, because really, when you try, it goes hand in hand with the law of assumption as well, because once you know that this is how you want to feel and you really feel it, indirectly, you will start to have the visions like the one you had, like those details you didn't even know that you cared about. For example, for me, I remember that at some point in my life, I was like, yeah, because it looked nice, I was like, it would be great to actually work in a place where I would travel a lot. And when I had a job where I traveled a lot, I hated it. I even
Mm.
felt anxious about it. And that's why
Mm.
I think we decided to
Mm.
talk about this today, because sometimes, and
Yeah.
most of the times, truly, we feel like we really want something. And honestly, life
Mm.
is too short to try over and over again and be like, okay, I want this, let's try it. I want this, let's try it. It's a shortcut, a really smart one, to just, sit and be like, I
Yeah.
want to feel that way. So what is it? It's indirectly like saying, what is it that will make me feel that way? And you have your answer. And sometimes, and I think that's a very important detail as well, what you have is not the final destination, but at
I-
least it's the first step in the journey that you're supposed to experience. Because in my case, that was it. I know, for example, I talked about coaching. I know my purpose in general wouldn't be coaching itself, but it was really the first step for me to recognize and to put my finger on the things that I really like and the things I'm really good at. And I think it's the same for you, Yasmin, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, I love that you said that. I'm sorry, I'm gonna go
Of
back and
course.
touch base on this before answering. Um, but what you just said is literally the key. Sometimes when we want something so intensely, we might just get it. This is why I love the quote that says, be careful what you wish for because it might just
Yeah.
come true.
Mm-hmm.
It might. And this is a lesson. in and of itself. And sometimes it is a stepping stone, and we have to realize it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we envisioned right. Because I do notice this, like when I read some stories, a lot of people like, okay, I got that career or I got that partner, but then, everything fell apart. But
Mm.
actually, no, everything is falling into place because we change.
Yeah.
Um, we evolve. This is the nature of life. It doesn't mean that what you got was wrong. Like, we need to make a distinction
Yeah.
between what you described, like actually having your ego involved in the process and saying, okay, I want to travel a lot because you technically love to travel, but it wasn't fulfilling because it was not a divinely whispered vision for you. It
Yeah.
wasn't your divine plan. So that's why it made you suffer. On the other hand, there are instances where we are divinely aligned and we get that job or that partner or that friendship or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And then it falls apart at a certain point. It doesn't mean that it was wrong then. It means that it was still the perfect place for us to be, but now we evolved towards something else. Like, it might happen
Mm-mm.
after a few years, it might not happen at all, but it doesn't mean like it's not the same situation as the first one,
Yeah.
as like an uh ego-centered thing,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah.
Because like sometimes, and it's probably a topic that we can talk about more deeply, uh being with that ideal partner, for example, sometimes we might feel that we are like this is the divine plan. Yes, the
Mm.
whispers were there. It was intuition. It was like
Yes.
really that. But
Mm-hmm.
when it happens and things fall apart, and we really go back and we sit with ourselves very, very honestly,
Mm.
we might find that there were things that we decided to look past in that relationship. Maybe that was not the divine partner, but we didn't want to let go,
Yeah.
and we had to learn the hard way.
Yeah, and the overall story, this is a great example because when it's love, it's even more complicated. But the thing is, when you trust and you decide to do this, you should be detached from, again, getting back to the same point, the how and when, because it's not always an immediate answer of exactly the overall feeling. Sometimes because you want this fulfilling relationship, you need to go through specific things in order to really experience this in the best way. And I don't want to misquote it, but there is, I think, a hadith or in the Quran, I don't remember, but it says, if you knew how God is planning the events that you have in your life, your heart will melt when
Mm.
you see
Yes.
the options that were there and the scenario that God chose for you. And literally that's it. And I think the power of what we're talking about today is to actually be detached and the fact that it's a shortcut. Because instead of doing so many things and checking on all the things, and now especially, Yasmin, it's getting really complicated because we have social media, we're comparing our lives to everyone, and we feel like everything we see on social media is what we want, just because it looks good, it looks fancy, it looks
Yes,
exciting. So
agree.
everything out there is not for us. There is no, I think we're in, like, there are different cultures, different circumstances, and we're not even seeing the truth. So what you're
Mm.
actually talking about is a shortcut that would lead us to the true journey. And we need to know, and I think we're gonna definitely need to talk about this later on, is that this journey itself, you should trust that whatever happens is for your good. And it gets back, if you remember in the last episode, we talked about this. I told you sometimes you get tested when
Mm.
if today you really believe and you have faith that God has your best interests, and you actually do this exercise, for example, for the ideal partner, and you do
Mm,
it, and it turns out it's not the one you meet right after your
mm,
prayer. And you're
mm,
like, no, no, this is a test for you. Do you really believe that God has your best interest? Because if this is your belief, you will definitely know that whatever happens, you're praying about it, you're honest, you're very genuine, you're not doing the wrong stuff. So if this actually works, then great. I am meant to experience this now. If not,
mm,
God is having my best interest even in that situation. And this is where you really need to be careful about your reaction, because it's gonna hurt
mm.
and it's gonna be hard because you're like, finally, it's there. But
Yeah,
God is telling you, mm-mm, maybe it's not yet the case, but please focus on trying to get the lessons you need to get out of this relationship. And remember, you said you believe that I have your best interest. So if you really believe so, this is for your best interest. And this
yeah,
is for your best interest to find your ideal partner, just not now yet, you know? And
mm,
it takes really, like, it takes a lot of faith to do that, because I experienced it myself, and I know you were there, and I was crying so hard. One day I was like, because it's a wound in me, I was crying, and you told me something that was really, really powerful. You told me, remember, this was supposed to happen. And that's the power of knowing and of clarity. So now, even though you feel the pain and even though you feel like it hurts so much, you need to choose again, to choose to tell yourself, God, I have no idea what's happening. I don't understand what's happening. I don't have the details. But what I know for sure is that you have my best interest, and that you're orchestrating things in my for my good, and for me to achieve what I want, because you know what I deserve, and maybe I need to go through this. And when you say that and you choose to believe that, even when it really hurts inside, I think this is true faith, and this is where it starts. And you need to
definitely.
know that you will actually experience this, because I quoted this in the
Yeah.
last episode. It's in the Quran. When you will start believing in something, you will be tested. So be careful and be ready for it. And when you're ready for it, trust me, it's gonna get easier for you.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
that was
Absolutely. I
emotional for
love
me,
it.
honestly.
It was
Yeah.
no bad, but it's actually very deep, and you touched on so many important points, and
Mm,
thank you for that. Because if faith was not this deep, everybody would have gotten like special outcomes. If it
exactly.
was as easy as raising your hands and just asking
Mm,
for things, and whatever. But how many people are truly living the lives that they really long for, like deeply and authentically? How
mm,
many? Very few. You find so many people struggling on their day-to-day life, and to them, it is very normal. Like, this is how life is supposed to be. So if it was as easy as just like mm, praying
yeah.
and getting things, that no, but it is a process. It is a process. Like, and even our discussion today, it did not cover the bigger image. It was just an
Mm,
introduction, in the sense that
mm,
in the beginning, we were talking about our ideal life, which
mm,
includes, career, partner, kids, if that's what like you want, and
mm,
everything in between, spiritual life, emotional life, mental health, all those things. Those examples were just a glimpse, but
yeah.
it's a glimpse that is going to enable you to get into the bigger picture and the plan of your whole life, that is gonna keep you motivated every day, and that is gonna make you want to get up in the morning and grind.
Mm,
Like, that is purpose, and that is what's supposed to make us alive, and not go through life and get through it, but actually flow with it.
mm,
So that is, you know not transposing it on day-to-day things, but the bigger picture. Like,
Mm.
where do I picture myself living long term? Over seeing the mountain or the ocean? On a
Or
farm
both.
or an urban? Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like we
Mm.
really need to sit with ourselves. And again, as you
Mm.
said, as you said earlier, a very, very important thing is that now with social media, we feel like we want everything, but
Mm.
we actually don't. Because if we take a minute and really sit back and think, God, please give me the images of what my overall ideal life looks like.
Mm.
Does it include a garden in a city or in the outskirts?
Mm.
Am I gonna am I gonna feel better in a luxurious kind of style or a vintage kind of style? Even the
Mm.
home.
Yeah.
And then, like only when you start doing this exercise, you're gonna start getting recurrent images as we shared in our examples, you for
Yeah.
coaching and me for the same scene. What's
Mm.
gonna happen is that you're gonna get super excited about the kind of house that you see yourself living in. Is it in
Mm.
an apartment or a secluded villa? Because so many people feel good being surrounded by other people,
Yeah.
living in a community. Is that
Mm.
you? Or are you more of a person who wants to be away from everybody and,
Mm.
just like calm and silence and stuff like that? These things are important because
Yes.
that's how proactive we we can get, and that's how our life is gonna be exciting because we feel like we're conversing with God. Oh, so yeah, thank God. Thank you, because I know now that it's not just my ego that wants that kind of lifestyle, but
Mm.
it's actually inspired from you. So
Yeah.
you approved of it. It's a beautiful feeling to realize that, your wants and desires are
Mm.
aligned. And if
Yes.
not, you're going to be redirected. And
Mm-hmm.
what's beautiful about this process is that when it's not for you and you sincerely seek God's guidance, He not only redirects you, but He removes it from your heart altogether. And we talked
Exactly.
about this last time, like istikhara,
Mm. Mm.
which is very beautiful. And this, again, leads the way. Like the final step to seal this is creating a vision board and a mind movie, which is, again,
Mm.
a very exciting topic that we
Yes.
both like.
Yes.
Instead of just going there and randomly picking images online and videos and sitting and like wanting to have it together to look at it. No, you're gonna take time and you're only gonna choose those images that make you feel something. You're not gonna understand,
Mm.
but you only have to choose those images or those quotes that feel special to you.
Yeah.
It,
No,
it- it's the same
definitely.
as the images we get, yeah. So
Yeah, you saying that reminds me of that quote that says, "Be yourself, everybody else is taken." And I
I love it.
think
Mhm.
with everything in social media now, we're not having an authentic life. We're actually
Yes.
projecting our people's lives. We don't even know if these people are happy, and we're not living our in our lives. We're not being ourselves. We're not in touch with who we really are. And I
Mm.
think that this is why this episode is super important because it helps you connect to who you really are, to have your own added value in life, and to get in touch with your purpose in a way or another. And again, it's a journey and it's a really great one. And at least we talked about the fact that life isn't all pinky and that there are processes and you will get to be tested. But at least in this process, you're with God, so everything is easier, and you're having so many shortcuts to actually be in that very happy place where you have most of what you want, rather than just test this and that and try this and go out with this guy and try this job. And honestly, I honestly
Mm.
don't feel like we're made for that. I think we're bigger than that, and I think God wants us to have a better life. And I remember I read once an example. I think it's gonna be the conclusion of tonight's episode. And he said, imagine you're new in a country, like it's a new country for you. You just moved there and you don't know how it is. You don't know how to drive there. You don't know where the market is. You have no idea. And someone comes and tells you you have two options. First option is for you to go out there and figure it out on your own, maybe take the car and maybe have an accident because it's a new process for you and you don't even know how it's working. Or you will have someone who will be your driver and who will help you get through it all. And he said this is exactly the choice that we have because this is I remember I watched a movie that says because this is our first life. This is our first time
Mm,
on earth, or at least this is what we
mm,
remember. And it's our first time. We don't know exactly what it is. I think everyone is trying to figure out how to live life at its best, and there is no real program to it. So you whether choose to go out there and try everything and fail, and which is a good thing. But at least if you're gonna do this, do it with God by your side because He's gonna guide you, and it's gonna be
mm.
easier for you.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was a really powerful
Mm,
example because
absolutely.
when you actually hear it, you feel more relaxed. You imagine yourself in that car and someone is taking everything in charge.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Yeah. And that's the beauty of it. Like it's up to us to make the first step. It's up to us to make the decision of, yes, God, I want you to guide me through this. I'm ready to surrender to whatever you tell me because I know you have my best interest at heart. Like I know this, like I'm ready to go through like it with you. Like that's
yeah,
the first decision we need to make.
definitely.
As we said last time, like surrendering our desires. If these desires that I have are not gonna make me fulfilled on the long term, then don't make me want them.
Mm,
Remove them from me. That's true surrender. So yeah,
true.
I
And
love the example.
yeah, and I love you talking about surrender because honestly, it's the heart of everything to surrender to God's will. Indeed. So I
Yeah.
think I think it's linked to the subject of our next episode, right?
Which is
I think about surrendering, no? I don't remember what we have
surrender.
in plan. Yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
think,
Probably the like touch basing a little bit on vision boards and mind movies, and
mm-hmm,
then surrender. Maybe we can do that in
nice.
one episode
Mm-hmm.
because, vision boards and mind movies are quite a straightforward thing,
Um,
and surrender is a bit deeper.
yeah,
So, yeah.
that's true. Well, that's nice. Well, I had fun. Honestly, the best kind
Yeah,
of Saturday night for me.
I know. I love that too. Like whenever we have these conversations, I kind of feel like my spiritual health is rejuvenated, you
Mm,
know?
yeah,
I feel more motivated and I kind of want to go back and look at my vision board. I
yeah,
made a few tweaks to my mind movie and stuff like that
yeah.
because talking about these things really impregnates our yaqeen, our unwavering faith. So,
True.
yeah.
Yeah, it's made me remember so many things too. So yeah, it is exactly what you described. Thank you for today, Yasmin.
Thank you, Suki. Thank you. It's always a pleasure catching up.
Yes, and
And
I'm looking forward to our next episodes. Yeah.
yeah, me too. Absolutely.
Okay, so talk to you very soon. Goodbye. See you guys in the
Yeah,
next episode.
goodbye. See you in the next one. We hope you enjoyed as much as we did. And yeah, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for listening. Bye bye.